And if you want to, wow, Antwerp, cool. If you want to drop an intention that you have for this time as well, that's strongly encouraged. I really value your time. I celebrate your dedication to the horn craft and want to make sure that this is really valuable time for you. So I've got my side of things, but it's also up to you to have a really clear intention and have your attention, your focus here as well. First person that drops an intention into the chat gets to be gets a little one-on-one workshopping of these concepts that we'll cover. Oh, waiting. And also make sure you've got your original sound on. I just turned mine on if you think that you do want to play. I haven't played yet today, so I'm just gonna give you a little wiggle. Prove that I can play this thing a little bit. Still looking for an intention and still letting some folks into the waiting room. And I will I'll get started in a minute. All right. Cool. Welcome, Aviram. Glad you made it. Some of your names I recognize. Some of you I don't. All right. I've got, looks like the waiting room is doing okay now. Everyone's in here. I see some friendly faces. Thank you, friendly faces, for being here. And if for whatever reason you're not able to be on video, that's totally cool too. I'm going to get started. I have a few, slides that we can talk through. I'm just going to share my screen and talk about some of the results that I've been getting that hopefully will compel you to pay attention. So Tate from the last boot camp said he's found tons of success in the high range and has been mixing this roll in, roll out range of motion, already finding easy high E's, feels confident with sound and lip motion, anxiety surrounding high range has disappeared, feeling so much more efficiency, endurance, clarity in his sound and control. He said, I feel like I'm in the driver's seat. And this is from someone who was really struggling at like top line F and G before we started doing this stuff. Elena said her biggest success is being able to squeal above a high C. A few months ago, she couldn't even conceptualize that was possible and hasn't been afraid of A's and B's, which allows her to go for stuff more. It's feeling like, yeah, let's just do it, right? Braden said until the boot camp, never had a good way to practice high range without getting fatigued and frustrated due to pressure and a limiting mindset. Something that sometimes we don't even know we have a limiting mindset. We'll talk about that today. And he said, now I have exercise to develop my high range with ease, and I can do it within a healthy headspace, knowing my progress is continuous and impressive. When he said that to me, I was just like, yeah, get it. Continuous and impressive progress is what it's all about. So yeah, what all these people have in common is that they applied the strategies that I'm gonna share with you today, and they applied them diligently for a good amount of time. You don't just change things overnight completely, but we can open ourselves and get on a new trajectory instantaneously. So that's my prayer today, is that for those of you who are open to it, that I offer you an opportunity to get on a new trajectory instantaneously. So if you're here and you've got a horn in your hand, this is for you. But if you're ready to make improvements to your high range, if you're open to a fresh approach, you're desiring something that mixes technical with musical thinking, and you don't like to struggle, you're in the right place. If you like to struggle, I suggest you find the high range hell masterclass that I'll be giving. It's not for folks that are committed to staying limited. You know, if that's where you're at in your journey and you feel like you need to stay limited, God bless. If you're unwilling to take responsibility for your outcomes, this isn't going to be for you. If you're closed-minded, not willing to try things, it's not going to be for you. I'm going to give you some weird out-of-the-box thinking today. And if you're risk averse, in particular, you need to be able to take emotional risks in order to move beyond some of the limiting conditioning that most of us just pick up from our teachers and from conservatory atmosphere, from fellow musicians. It actually takes a little bit of emotional courage to move beyond that. Can I get like a amen or something? I'm really preachy today. I must be in Florida, but yeah, just drop an okay. I promise I'm not going to get into religion on this call, except for the religion of easy, fun horn playing. So what we're going to cover, I've got basically three secrets of mindset. So how do you actually get past limiting beliefs? And how do you apply a positive conceptual focus? This is foundational for high range. Because if you have a really small concept of who you are or what you can be, you can practice these exercises, but the identity is going to drag you right back to where you are. There's all kinds of studies in fitness, for example. If you think of yourself as out of shape, you're not going to really have an easy time getting in shape. But if you think of yourself as like a fit person who exercises, then you're just way more likely. And that just scratches the surface of our belief systems, and then also what it means to have a positive conceptual focus, which, you know, I'll talk about in number 3 as well. Secret number 2 is range of motion. Most of us haven't learned how to move our lips and our tongue to consciously connect with what's possible there. So I'm going to get all anatomical on you for a second. A little spoiler alert. Look how far in my lips can go. Now look how far out they can go. Right? Obviously, we're probably not going to play the horn like that, although you can. And I might teach you how today. Notice already, you could probably predict that a low tone was going to come out. Well, we're going to talk about range of motion of the lips and tongue and how you get this reed to produce high tones more effortlessly. And then number 3, secret number 3, we're going to talk about converging from indirect procedures. And I'll explain what that means when we get into it. So hang tight and make sure you reach it, because that one is important. I've got some data to show you about how this works. This is from my last 7-week boot camp that I ran called High Range Magic. And I zoom in. You can see that before the boot camp, I got a survey on highest comfortable note. Under 20% could play a high C. Most folks were just at an A or below. And then after the boot camp, more than about 50% could play above high C comfortably, and then it was C, and then a couple were around B flat. So it's a pretty substantial change. That's just after 7 weeks, and the beauty of it is that before the boot camp, nobody was very clear about what to do in order to maintain and expand that high register, and afterwards they were quite clear. 4.5 out of 5 average score in clarity. So wishing that for everybody, because I just think it's time for the horn world to get past high range limitation so we can focus on unleashing our musical genius. This is a little bit different from technical exercises. In my personal story, I tried so many exercises, from Farkas to Brophy to pivot system. It didn't work. Technique alone won't get you there. But neither will just woo-woo thinking positively, hoping and praying that you get a high range. So it's not just technique, it's not just woo-woo think positive stuff. It's also indirect. A lot of people will play, just stepwise, direct, like they're at the gym trying to do, increase their bench press weight or something. High playing's not like that. It shouldn't feel like bench pressing, where you're adding 5 pounds every week or adding a half step every week. It's really not quite like that. It's more like dancing, you know. So it's like physiotherapy, where you may be walking in a way that's really inefficient right now, and it hurts to walk, and you can't walk very fast, you can't walk very long. You don't just try and walk more. You actually take a step and break things back. Look at your range of motion, look how you use your body, look at cultivating relaxation. That's what physiotherapy would do. So this is kind of almost like physiotherapy for high playing, and you can see pretty quick results. I remember in the first week of the boot camp, I had folks kind of playing out these, like, they get these F above high C, and like, what the hell? Which is great. I love that moment so much. That's I live for that. So my goal for y'all is to learn the full range of motion of your lips and tongue, and how to use it to build your high and your low range, to understand how to use the power of your mind to create results quickly, and also to not limit yourself, so to unshackle yourself, to gain awareness of negative habits that hold you back, and to start to transform your high playing today. So for those of you that'll stay to the end, I've got some gifts for you as well. I've got a practice along video from the boot camp that you can use to start your first week of practice. It's a 17-minute, 18-minute video that you just press play, practice along with it, and you can use some of the concepts that we cover here. If you don't stay through the masterclass, there's no point giving it to you, because you won't understand the concepts. So we'll figure that out. I've also got this 5 principles of holistic practice that you can use your music practice to improve your whole life. This is something that I really believe deeply in and want to offer you as well, just as a bonus from the heart. It's been described as profound and a game changer. So I hope to share that with you. And I want your attention. So please, pay attention, put your cell phone on mute. Just commit yourself, because if you put in half-assed attention for the next 45 minutes or hour or so, you're going to get half-assed results. If you put in your full attention, you're going to get full results. So honor yourself, honor your time, honor my time, by just agreeing that you're going to either pay attention to the best of your ability, or you can exit the call and come back another time. Sound good? Get some okays in the chat or a little thumbs up. Also, let's just make sure that we know that we can take care of our bodies in this call. So if you need to get up and stretch and shake, I will consider that a blessing to the space. All right, a little bit about me. Just so you know, my name's Mars Gelfo. That's a picture of me after taking a solo bow after Shostakovich 10. I've played with San Francisco Symphony, Philadelphia Orchestra. I was in the Hong Kong Philharmonic as a low horn player for a number of years. That was when I was still struggling with my high range. And I played principal horn in the Florida Grand Opera for a couple seasons as well. I've played all over, but these are some of the groups. And I was subbing with Philadelphia a few months ago, and I was splitting the principal horn book with Jen Montone, and was just so looking forward to this high A at the end of Harry Potter movie suite. And I thought, wow, this is different. I forgot. I used to cry about high range. And now I'm looking forward to this high A. I need to share this stuff with folks. And that's when all of this got born about 6 months ago. I've taught and presented at the International Horn Symposium. I was on faculty at Hong Kong Baptist University, and have done a bunch of online work with Musical U that's been really beautiful. I love teaching. It's like my zone of genius. And I hope to give you all some good Good stuff. My secret sauce is I think that actually I struggled more than most with the high range and beat my head up against a bunch of walls until I found the doors. I was rejected from music school 7 times. Proud fact. And I studied cognitive science, which kind of unlocked a lot of my understanding of how humans actually learn. And then I applied that cognitive science degree to the French horn and won a job within a couple years. Still couldn't play high, but I kept going around the world and, just eventually figured it out. I went through 4 embouchure changes. I've probably had 10 different horn teachers that I seriously studied with. I've studied vocal technique, Alexander technique, hypnotherapy, trained yoga teacher. I've done Reiki, like all of this stuff, shamanic healing, law of attraction coach for high range. I've done a lot, and I've tried to condense it. I probably added it up. I think I probably spent about $50,000 trying to learn how to play high over 20 years. So I'm trying to condense that. And what happened when I started sharing this path was phenomenal. It originally started just a few years ago with a San Francisco Symphony trombone player who was preparing for the Tchaikovsky competition, and he hired me to coach him, mostly on performance and charisma and stuff. And I just shared a couple of these tips about high range, and it just boom, like unlocked it for him. It was crazy. And since then he's just been a total missionary for this approach with his own students, and I've taught this now to about a dozen folks, and it's been great for everybody. The only problem is it's really too time intensive to share this one-on-one, and I'm lit up to get this out to a broader audience so that we can just all start making music. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to ask you to hold out your right arm if you can. Yeah, good. Right in front of you. Take it back, put it on your left shoulder. Give yourself a pat on the back for being here. Awesome, good job. So I created this high range magic thing, and we talked about some of the results. I have all these charts and graphs, and I'm about to launch a new cohort. So we'll talk about that at the end of the call. If you want to work more closely with me, then I'll show you how to do that. But for now, I'm going to show you the 3 mind-blowing concepts for free that will get you results today. Ha 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 ha. My first step here was to imagine what I wanted, and I want you to take a second and imagine, get creative. Imagine what your life will be like when you know exactly what to practice and how to practice in order to gain high range consistently. And you can play above high C every day with relaxation. Imagine that. Imagine that you're confident that you can think musically and the notes just come out. Imagine that you can play all day long and have fun doing it. Imagine that you're able to take principal horn gigs with no fear of running out of steam or missing important notes. Imagine that you actually look forward to high notes like I talked about. And imagine that you only have to practice high a few minutes a day to keep your range above high C. I do about 2 minutes a day, 5 days a week now, and I'm getting up to double C. So you ready to get into it? Hype! Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. All right, so how to banish limiting beliefs and focus on positive concepts. And here's where I'm going to ask some of you all to lean into your discomfort, your emotional vulnerability. What is a limiting belief that you have about your high range? Or if you want to tiptoe into vulnerability, what's a limiting belief that you think someone else might have about their high range? I see Heidi Oros thinking a lot. You want to unmute yourself and offer a suggestion?
Okay, limiting belief. Some people may believe that they
Yeah, great, beautiful. I'm insecure on the high register, even though I have the notes. Ah, golden, A plus plus. Playing high is tiring. Simone uh, offered is great. Yeah, those are perfect examples of limiting beliefs. Or like my lips are too big to play high. There's something wrong with me. Yeah, articulating high is harder than slurring high, or vice versa. That's an interesting one. Ooh, yeah, high playing will aggravate an old injury. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm inconsistent in the high register. Just think for a second how your body feels when you hear these, or you could try saying them out loud in the comfort of your muted Zoom room. Just try saying or thinking, I'm inconsistent in the high range, I'm insecure, playing it will aggravate old injuries, articulating high is hard, it's tiring. The whole body kind of collapses a little bit. Yeah, do I just have a ceiling? Um, it's the practice, the medical practice of kinesiology has shown us that um, certain thoughts or beliefs will actually weaken our body. I don't know if anybody's ever tried muscle testing. It's like you have a banana in one hand and they check your muscles and your arm goes weak because you're allergic to bananas. Well, it's the same thing. So if you have one of these beliefs running through your head, will literally physically weaken your chops and your ability to execute. So this is really important stuff. This is not just like psychological woo woo, put it off to the side and try to play high. You will physically be weaker if you are running limiting beliefs in your system, whether it's subconscious or conscious. And in fact, the subconscious ones are the worst. What did Jung say? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will run your life and you will call it fate. So let's make our own fates today. Um, you know, Banishing limiting beliefs is sort of an art, but the first step for me is getting conscious of the limiting beliefs. So, for example, let's go with Rebecca's. Was a really nice one, and one that I have a lot of compassion for. I'm afraid that high playing will aggravate an old injury. Um, so that's a really clear limiting belief. The first thing that you want to do is think about how that feels in your body, Rebecca. In fact, are you willing to to kind of do a little one-on-one
Sure.
laser
Yep.
coaching? Awesome. Thanks for your courage.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so when you think about that, how do you feel? Like what kind of emotions come up?
I can feel my shoulders and neck getting tense
Mm-hmm.
because of the whole topic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I would say the number one feeling, I don't know, it used to be the prevailing feeling would be at least I get to play.
Oh.
All I want to do is play. I don't care if it's second or fourth. Um, that's not really good enough anymore. And this
Mm-hmm.
is a very old injury. It's a typical little muscle tear that happened
Mm-hmm.
about 20 years ago, but it's there. I mean, you can feel
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never want to be in a position where I can't play, period. So my
Right.
limiting belief, I thought was, and I was told, is not a limiting belief. It's the opposite. It's wise. It's responsible. Don't go
Oh.
high. Don't play high. Don't go, you know, don't think about playing solos or principal chair. Good girl. But I don't believe that
Right.
I don't believe that anymore.
Cool. If I'm, let me take a guess here. If it was me, and I was putting myself in that box, I would feel a little angry.
Oh God, yeah. Grief,
Yeah.
anger, all of it. Yeah, I've gone through it
Yeah.
all. Yeah,
Grief,
yeah,
anger, well
yeah,
named.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So here's the cool thing that I'm gonna share y'all, and I promise we get a few steps. Right. Number one is to identify and feel the emotions, and we're gonna treat it like almost like there's a bucket, with stuff in it, like the grief, the anger, probably some dread. Um, I would guess some anguish around this, like ah, Um, to make some space to feel it compassionately before we really try to get to the other side. We're not going to try and stuff down the feelings. We're going to let them be here as like beautiful um, reflections of our needs. But try and make sounds on the horn
Hmm.
that actually move these emotions a little bit, like dislodge them from the cells of our body. So if I'm gonna try a little anguish right now. For me, anguish sounds like and my voice. You can all try to make an anguish sound too in your Zoom rooms. It's like ah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. SJ Rumble's shaking his head. Yeah, that was anguish. On the horn, anguish might be like. Um, and I hope that you can tell, like, I'm being real. I'm not trying to joke about this. We have to have the courage to confront our feelings, whether it's anger, sadness, grief, anxiety, shame. Otherwise, they're going to show up and sneak their way into our sound. So, Rebecca, do you want to try and make I took care of the anguish. Do you want to try and play like just angry, like whatever? You could put down F1, 2, and 3 and just
Hmm.
blast some anger at that limitation.
Weak, yeah.
Yeah, good start.
Yeah.
And the rest of you on mute can try this too, whatever feeling's coming up in the moment. We can, in fact, all try and blast some of this anger away for the collective horn consciousness.
Hmm.
Give it another shot, Rebecca. That was
Do you
great.
want me to go on mute or?
No, 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 on live. Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So something cool happens. Then this is a microcosm. Normally it takes about 90 seconds of really putting it through before we've made sort of like a true emptying of the bucket. 90 seconds is not a long time. But what's cool, you might have heard that Rebecca played a pretty fairly high note with a pretty solid tone when she played that anger. What happens, this is so cool. It's like actually when you move the emotions and allow it to just kind of flow through, your chops will discover things that they might need to discover in order to move you forward. So the stuck emotions actually have a message for you. And I have a theory that this is actually what causes focal dystonia for a lot of folks is that they don't allow their fear or anxiety or dread to come through. They kind of hold it back at their chops. And then there's this inhibition that happens that then screws up their neuromuscular wiring. I think that's where focal dystonia comes from. So, in the interest of our health, we need to move these emotions. We can't suppress them, but we need to express them healthily, not by venting, not through limiting beliefs that we recycle all day long in our heads, but by moving them somatically, expressively, vibrationally through the horn. Makes sense? Can I get a thumbs up? And drop any questions. You can drop them in the chat if you have them.
I have a quick question if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So you say it must be through the horn and not through any other modalities.
Oh no, not at all.
Okay.
I just think like for example, somatic experiencing, trauma release is great. There's like there's tons of modalities for
Okay.
this. But we're horn players, right? So it's like if you move it through the horn, you're actually synergistically enhancing your emotional palette at the same time and potentially discovering new technical things. I remember one day, my girlfriend pissed me off, and I was just like, just playing low, and my Shostakovich 5 was so like strong after I unlocked some new low horn stuff. I was like, oh, thank you, sweetie. You gave me the gift of a better low range, you know? So that's number one, identify the limiting belief. Number two, move the emotion. And number three, identify the expanding belief. All right. So in Rebecca's case, it would be high playing. Like, let's try this on for a second. Playing high will heal my old injury. How's that feel? Like if it were true.
I think you're onto something for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear it in your voice. There's like this, like, oh man, like if that was so, like, wow, that could be a game changer.
Oh, it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I talk about healing, I don't just mean from the Western medicine perspective of physical cells. I mean the emotional injury that was done, all the pain, the 20 years. There's healing and reparations to be done there, with your body, with music, with the horn, like this holistic system, the ecosystem of your life. And that's why I call this high range magic, because I promise you, if you have a high range limitation, this is not just about playing notes. This is about a call to you to expand into a bigger version of who you are, who you can be. Um, and it's a beautiful opportunity. So you figure out the expanding belief, and and then something that I teach that I don't think I have time to go into today is creating a new affirmation. So the text affirmation be high playing heals my old injury. But there's a whole art to these affirmations. And this is something that, we need to spend weeks on. The first, I think, 3 weeks of high range magic, we were busting everyone's uh, bazookas on how they affirm. You have to feel it. You can't just say it. So if you're saying, high playing heals my old injury, you're just recreating, whatever emotion that was on my face. It was like some discouragement. You have to feel it. Playing high heals that old injury into wholeness. Oh yeah, I felt it. I felt it. And then you can translate that vibration into the horn. Something like that, to me, is the embodiment of what that affirmation sounds like. How'd that land for you, Rebecca?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yes. Yeah. So I call this your motive, like from Wagner's motives,
Mm,
that you actually take the affirmation, you turn it into a musical motive that
nice.
captures the new reality. And then that motive becomes an anchor. It's something you play in your warm ups, it's something you play before rehearsals, it's something you play anytime in between exercises to get back to the positive focus. That's that's really important. And that's a habit that, moves forward. Um, and then, I want to talk about positive constructive focus before we get into secret number two. Um, Positive constructive focus is using our mind to focus on what we desire. And a lot of folks try to control their meat, their physical flesh meat, when they're playing the horns. And that isn't super helpful, in my opinion. Controlling the meat is not what we're built to do. I want you all to just hold your horn out and touch the tip of the mouthpiece with your finger. Just notice what that's like. And as you do it, notice, or if you don't have a horn, touch something else, or touch your two fingers together, or touch your nose. Touching your nose is a good one, right? Good job, Edward. If you touch your nose and just start to feel what muscles are involved, you can feel some of them. I feel like, okay, my biceps involved. There's like a little finger. There's a little wrist. there's something in my back that's activating. I can sense those muscles activating, right? And a lot of pedagogy says, okay, well, I felt my chin flatten and I felt this thing do that. And so now I'm going to tell you to flatten your chin or do that, right? I say, okay, Edward, if you want to touch your nose, you're just going to activate your latissimus dorsi, flex your bicep to 30%, and take your wrist a little bit until the tip of your finger touches your nose. And if you actually try to do that, you're going to look like some messed up, poorly programmed robot. But you just touch your nose. So this is what I mean by positive conceptual focus, is that if I have a concept, that I can, if I hear it closer in my head, the more I hear it, the more likely I am to get it. The meat takes care of itself. But, big but, this takes me to secret 2. We have to educate our meat on how to move. It'd be like if I told you to touch your nose, but you thought that you should only move your arm like this. Well, then when you touch your nose, you're gonna like crunch here and crunch your neck and shake and try really hard and finally get your nose, because you didn't understand that you could just move your shoulder a little bit more. And that's what most people are doing in their high range, is they haven't understood the range of motion of their lips. They haven't understood the range of motion of their tongues. And so they bring in all these other muscles, ineffective strategies that make it really, really hard to play high. And in fact, are counterproductive. They might be flexing muscles that are spreading their lips and exposing a fleshier, softer vibrational surface. And then more mouthpiece pressure, and less endurance. Then you get tired and swollen, and then it's even harder. So then you use even more muscle, spread your lips even further, and have to use more mouthpiece pressure. Repeat for years, and you've forgotten that you even had a different choice. So it's time to break out of that, Okay, let's talk about range of motion. And I need to share a slide with y'all again. All right, see my screen? You get a thumbs up? Thanks, everyone. I'm appreciating your wonderful attention. Okay, so forget what it says here, roll in, all that stuff for a second. Let's just look at these important things. The oral commissures are one thing. So I like to think of a zipper. Heidi looks so confused. I love it. Oral commissures are one thing. I call these the zippers of the mouth, and we'll get into that in a little bit, because you want to be able to zip closed so that you have like your aperture zipping it shut, so you can control where the aperture comes out. It's equivalent in Pilates to the inner corset, where you zip up the front of your spine to have a more erect spine. The other important one here is the vermilion borders. The vermilion borders, as you can see, are where the flesh of the skin stops. Words, Mars, words. Where the red of the lips stops being the red of the lips is the vermilion borders. So we can all see it and touch it. We all know what we're talking about. You can kind of just touch along your vermilion borders. You have an upper vermilion border and you have a lower vermilion border. And it's where the color changes. You got the color of the skin, of the lip skin, and then you've got non-lip skin. And in between lip skin and non-lip skin is this vermilion border that actually is a really cool and sensitive place. We all know it because we get a little mouthpiece ring around that potentially. That's where you can get a tear oftentimes, is near the vermilion border. It's a really sensitive, important part of our body. And what I'm about to show you now is how to use these vermilion borders. We've all taken a balloon and kind of, done the squeak thing, right? or an oboe reed. You imagine what happens when you put the hard, dense, vibrating material closer together. Does a pitch go higher or lower? Give me a up or a low to signify what happens. Anybody? Bueller? Yeah, exactly. It goes up. Excuse me. So the roll in is when you take your vermilion borders and you touch them to each other in front of your teeth. So it looks like that. Some people call it the grandpa face. Yeah, beautiful. Y'all did that really good. What you don't want to do is put it in between your teeth. That's a fruit game where you say the name of a fruit and whoever laughs first until your teeth loses. But what we want is the vermilion borders rolling in together. Really good, y'all. That's great. Good practice. And you can feel there's like this muscle, so I like go like this, you know, and I encourage you to think about that. Like an octopus. Well, the opposite is when we, I don't know what tubercules are, but when we push our lips out. Kissy face. And let's just say, on average, going like that, is it going to raise the pitch or is it going to lower the pitch? Show me with your hands. Yeah, lower, exactly. No one, we know this stuff, but we don't apply it in our horn playing enough. So that's a roll out. Well, what's cool is that when you roll out, actually, this is part of the method that I'll share with you if you join in High Range Magic, is that when you roll out, you actually, I teach a way of rolling out. It's very insane. It's like that, where you really push it out. But what happens is you learn to use the interior muscles of your lips then to raise the pitch. It's literally the most mechanically inefficient way to play high that you possibly could. It's completely rolled out, right? Just scientifically, this is the most inefficient way that you could possibly play high, is get all of the fleshy material into your lips with the most exaggerated Einsätzen that you possibly can. But with that, when you learn to ascend with it, I mean, notice I'm struggling a lot more, but I can still get up to F above high C because I've learned the range of motion of the tongue and of the top lip. We'll get into that. The rollout's important, right? You can't, what comes up must come down, what rolls in must roll out. You can't just do one or you're going to get out of balance. Up next is the lip clamp. Now, I want to get you guys results in this masterclass. So this is where we start getting results. So the clamp is when you roll in. I'm going to use two fingers here. This is my top lip, this is my bottom lip. They roll in front of the teeth, and then they kind of push together like that. Yeah, Rebecca's doing it. So you roll in, and it's just subtle. You're just pushing the top lip against the bottom lip. So if you had a reed and, you know, the reeds are that far apart, but then somehow you manage to push the reeds closer together, what do you think is going to happen? Pitch going to go up or pitch going to go down? Up. Yeah, exactly. All you know this intuitively. You just haven't been taught how to make this happen on the horn necessarily. So lip clamp, we just kind of clamp the lips together. It's light. Then you want to be able to make a squeak on the clamp. So squeak, once you've got the clamp, you just kind of push a little air through, and it's okay if it comes out the sides or whatever. We learned that with the zippers. Like that. Anybody got one coming out? Just naturally? Yeah, Rebecca, let's hear your squeak. Yep, great. And you can hear it, there was like a low tone and like a high tone that came out sometimes. Did you hear that? Yeah. So when you were getting the low tone, it's because you weren't as fully rolled in and clamped as you could. And then you'll just learn how to finesse it to get that high tone that's a little bit more like a mosquito. Anybody else want to try? I see Michael laughing. You wanna give it a shot?
For sure, mine isn't as high as I thought it would be. So I'm getting
Mhm.
like quite a messy tone.
Yep, yep. Yeah, it takes a little practice. But this is like you don't get it overnight, but you get on the path overnight. And
Yeah,
this is a path. So now you know you want to get a mosquito sound.
yeah.
All of you can do this. Does anybody believe that they are physically incapable of making a squeak? Like that there's something that they don't have the anatomy to be able to put their vermilion borders together and learn how to make it squeak? Truly, if they applied themselves to it deliberately for weeks or months even. Michael, you're not sure?
Yeah, I feel like my lips are like you're not supposed to let it go past your teeth, right?
Yeah, you don't want to get it like in between your
Yeah.
teeth.
I can't really see how I can curl my bottom lip in anymore.
What about your top lip?
Yeah, maybe top lip.
You can take your fingers and really try, you know. That's what my first student used to do. He had really big lips. He would roll them in like that.
Yeah.
But you can do it, okay? I promise you. I promise. Every single one of you can squeak. And what happens after you squeak, I think I'm done sharing my screen, is you can squeal. Yeah, Sandy, this is a little different from a buzz. That's a really good question. Um, it it leads to a buzz, but it's an indirect training of the range of motion. I'm going to talk about that in mind blowing secret number three. But the squeak can become a squeal when you learn to put the horn on it. It just can come out, and this is where most people start to get their F above high C or their easy high C, just a squeal. Aviram probably is going to need to cut a little notch in his mustache. Edward's facial hair might need a little trimming. Michael's good to go. But when you really practice this, you gotta facial hair concerns for men. But basically, you get a squeal, and that could take a week or two. Does someone have a comment? I saw unmute. Rebecca,
Can
what's
I
up?
ask you a question?
Yep.
Um, I find I got little tiny air pockets sometimes here and there.
Yep.
That try to get rid of them, iron them out.
No. No. No.
That's
No.
okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. My
Yeah.
flat chin now has a little air bubble in it when I do that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We wanna learn how to play all the ways. So one of the problems that limits brass players is that like, you know, call it Johnny Flatchin. It works for 60% of brass players or so, but there's 40% of brass players for whom a flat chin doesn't actually work throughout the entire range. I happen to be one of them. And I don't know if you all know David Thompson. He founder of Thompson Edition, and he played in all over the world. He also is a notorious non-flat chinned player. He played principal in Hong Kong Philharmonic next to me for oh shoot, someone squealed a double B. Yeah, exactly. It's like boom. You just get it sometimes. Air pockets are great. I'll talk about this in secret number three, convergence from indirect procedures. But I'm not telling you like, hey, yeah, time to play your horn with air pockets. I'm saying learn how to make a sound with air pockets. See what you learn. Get control over both. That's mastery. Be able to play with a flat chin, be able to play with air pockets. For me, I circular breathe. So if I can't play with a puffed cheek, I'm screwed. And I've got a lot of benefit from circular breathing. I play 5-minute long tones now. It's the longest long tones ever. Yeah, this is similar to balanced embouchure, Heidi. It's kind of like I learned a lot from balanced embouchure. I wish I could go into my story with that, but it's no time. Yes, it works for Einsätzen. I'm going to give you a ridiculous example. I'm going to do the most Einsätzen. I'm going to set it in my tongue. Okay, so G above high C, setting it in my tongue. So that tells you some things. I'm not really relying too much on my tongue to do the control. I'm relying some on it to arch like that. But I'm really learned how to roll in on the top lip, which you can as well with Einsätzen. No big deal. Yeah. All right, great. So we talked about range of motion. We talked about squeaking. We talked about squealing. Oh boy, the tongue. I don't think that I have time to go into the tongue right now, but this is an important part of the training. I'm going to give you all just an exercise that you can play with. And then if you want to work more closely, schedule a one-on-one call or whatever, I can answer questions about that. The exercise for the tongue is called tongue kicks. It sounds like this. What you're doing is you're using your tongue going ooh wee, ooh wee, ooh wee, ooh wee. You can do it on any adjacent harmonics. It basically indirectly trains your tongue to do what it needs to do in order to contribute optimally to a change in harmonic, ascending and descending. The tongue is an important part of it. You won't get anywhere if you don't train your tongue a little bit. Okay, so I need to get to secret number 3. Anybody feeling like excited or grateful or like you might have some options? Yes? All right, great. At least one person is. All right, stoked. So yeah, this is the power of range of motion. Is that we can actually master all of the reed of our lips and the tongue as the thing that delivers air so that our breathing can be totally cool. All right. So yeah, don't forget, I'm going to give you that free guide at the end of the webinar so you can practice this stuff. So all you folks dropping out, I hope that some of you stay. The practice along is worth it. It'll get you on the right track for the next week. All right, ready for secret number 3? Yes, we are. All right, so secret number 3 is how to converge through indirect procedures. All right. I don't actually think I need to show you my slides for that. We can just watch. Basically, to make a very long story, 20 years succinct, I did balanced embouchure. I did Alexander technique. I did every single embouchure in the Farkas 40 photographic studies. I literally tried all 40 embouchures. And I found one that I could play a high on, but I couldn't play a low on. So for a while, I just had 2 different embouchures. I'd play the tag of Shasti 5 on one, and it's like go back. That was a nightmare. I had to do all my warm-ups on 2 different embouchures. It was double the work. It sucked. I worked with hypnotherapists. I worked with psychotherapists. I worked with trauma therapists. I worked with shamanic healers. I did all kinds of healing work on my emotions. And what I learned is that none of it individually works on its own. You need the right combination of factors to hit critical mass. And once I combined all those factors, I hit critical mass, and it was just a question of like a little bit of time and everything clicked. Now, I'd had 20 years of practicing the individual puzzle pieces, so it clicked in a more powerful way for me than it might for some of you. But for example, whoever squealed a double B, it's like, that's a life-changing thing. They'll never go back after today. That's Matrix Blue Pill. So indirect procedures and convergence. The range of motion is practiced as a separate thing It's like I talked about. If we want to touch our nose and our whole lives we've been crunching our bellies and not moving our shoulders, you just want to do some exercises like this just to remember what the range of motion of your shoulders are. And then naturally, when it comes time to touch your nose, you'll get the range of motion. That's a bit of a simplistic analogy, but this is the idea. If you practice the range of motion by rolling in, allowing your cheeks to puff, doing whatever it takes to get the roll in, you practice the roll out, you practice the tongue controlled harmonics, you're going to pick things up that will, exactly, they'll naturally transfer to your playing, and then you can trust your brain and body to take care of it, like Heidi said, like verbatim. Because we don't want to be telling our tongue what to do. The tongue is an unruly servant, says Arnold Jacobs. Relaxation is another one. So this is one of the key, one of the 4 foundations of high range magic, is learning how to raise your baseline relaxation. That's your physical relaxation, your mental relaxation, and your mouthpiece pressure. And when we do that, we start to have a great foundation to work from, rather than the jamming things in or trying too hard, because that doesn't actually work. And then the identity work as well is an example of an indirect procedure, because you're changing who you are. Then your behaviors, your thoughts, all of that, it consequentially spins out. So indirect procedures are very powerful. There's actually a book called Indirect Procedures from Alexander Technique, where I got this from. But trying to directly change your embouchure or trying to directly add a half step to your range just really doesn't work. It just doesn't work, or it hasn't worked for me, you know. I think it works for folks that basically have the physical knack already, but if you're here, you might not, you know. Okay, any questions about that? I'm trying to move through things really fast. I could talk all day on this stuff. You can drop a question in the chat. Yeah, thanks, Edward. Or you can raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to start integrating things. Okay, no questions. So we've covered range of motion. We've covered mindset. We've talked about converging with indirect procedures. And one of the convergence exercises that we do in the high range magic is you'll play, for example, your highest comfortable note. Let's say that you can play a high C, but it's not so good. Like that. But you can squeal it too. And it'll sound weaker. The squeal's not meant to sound like a normal note. It's really unstable. You'll learn to use your mind to control it more. You move between the squeal and the normal note. The squeal, normal embouchure. Squeal, normal embouchure. And it's like you pull from both. You say, well, I like the tone of the normal embouchure, but I like the ease of the squeal. Can I find a midpoint? And after a few weeks, they start to converge. A few weeks, minimum. But inevitably they converge until you found the sweet spot between your old way and a new way that's far more efficient. So that's the convergence piece. You understand the landscape now. I hope that you're enjoying the masterclass. I see a lot of you are still here, so I'm just gonna assume that you like it, and hopefully that you found it valuable. We're covering things that will transform your entire musical life if you actually apply them. And hopefully you feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that you can progress on your high range. At least you have some tools and tips from before this webinar. And curious if anybody's come up with some ideas that they want to implement into their life already. Feel free to drop a note. Basically, when you integrate these, it's going to give you a really significant advantage over other people. um, that are practicing different techniques. Uh, it's going to give you a significant advantage over the old ways that you were practicing. It's just gonna, it's like, yeah, exactly. It's healing. It's not just building a mechanical skill. It's liberating yourself, and that is priceless. You know. Um, so y'all can take the roll in, the roll out. I'll give you the practice along. You can run with that, and that's going to put you on a trajectory. But I also want to give you an opportunity, if you want, to have a little bit more hand holding, accountability, group support, and direct interaction with me to join the next High Range Magic Bootcamp. That's an option that really allows me to serve you at a higher level rather than just being on this one and done and hoping that you do well. It actually gives me the gift of being able to be more of an input to your success and to help you get the results that you desire and honestly deserve. We all deserve to have, easy, reliable high ranges. It's just that's it. So it's a great pleasure to introduce you to the High Range Magic format. It's a deep 3-month long immersion, and what I showed you today scratches the surface of what High Range Magic goes into. It's a very transformative, but also extremely practical and step-by-step approach to building your high range. It's for folks that are ready to really invest some time and energy into their growth. It's not for people that just kind of like are interested but not ready to commit. You really need to commit both to doing the practices on basically 6 days a week, to following through the practice alongs, to supporting each other in the group. And it's for folks that are willing to actually take the emotional courage as well to transform from within, become the expanded version of themselves that has access to the high range of their dreams. And it's my deep joy to hold that transformative process. It just feels like, one of the most rewarding things on the planet when someone gets that high double B or even just an easy high C, to feel like our horn community is healing together. So High Range Magic is, like I said, it's a 3-month program. I've got a lot of details to talk through, and I have an interview process to see if folks are a good fit. You can book a one-on-one call with me, and I'm going to drop the link in here in the Zoom chat. I'm only going to let probably do about 10 or 15 calls before I close admission. This is it's going to be a closed program. I'm going to keep it really tight. I'm going to keep it to folks that are positive, motivated, disciplined, and it's going to be amazing. The last cohort, if you saw the stats, was just absolutely tremendous. So if you want to go one-on-one, I'm happy to cover some of these things with you on a one-on-one call. You just click that Calendly link and schedule it. I'll get to hear you play a little bit more. You can answer any questions that you have, and then we'll find out if you're a good fit for the boot camp. And there's no obligation, no pressure to commit to it. Happy to talk to you one way or another. But the boot camp's starting in January, so I'm going to be finalizing the enrollment starting soon. So I'm going to open it up to any Q&As now or any integrations. We're coming up on our time together. Just see if anybody has a question, comments. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, Michael.
So just going back to like the rolled in thing. So is the point essentially to learn how to take that sensation and take it and use it with a more conventional embouchure, or are you actually playing with that kind of clamped on? Okay.
Yeah,
You're,
that's great. That's a great question. That's what I mean by indirect, is that you're training yourself to make a sound on that and to learn the muscles that control that. And then what happens, like I showed Heidi, I had that ridiculous tongue embouchure. I could use those muscles on my top lip and on my bottom lip as well to seal. There's this zipper kind of effect as well that seals the aperture, which is how you guys are going to get the mosquito buzz, is by using the zippers. Um, and once you have that, then it's like a pattern that engages. Same thing with the cheek puffing. So I was playing Nutcracker yesterday, which some of you know can be a little bit of a blow for the principal horn part with no assistant. I noticed that about 2/3 of the way through, I was holding a long mid-range note, and my cheeks puffed, and my flat chin stopped being flat. I normally play flat chin in the mid-range, but it just bloop. And what happened was my body wanted less mouthpiece pressure, but in order to compensate for that, my lips had to be more rolled in. This is what a lot of folks are missing, is that they have the mouthpiece pressure. That's the only way they know how to get the pitch. But if they take the mouthpiece pressure, they don't have the compensating mechanism. So that's what the roll-in trains is. Things will roll in. You might use your air pockets. The body's innate wisdom figures it out once you show the body that it's an option. And it kind of figures out, oh yeah, that's how it changes the pitch. Oh yeah, okay. Like, got it. All right, now we're friends. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Great. Anybody else? But don't be shy now. I'm gonna pick on somebody. Christy, I've seen you paying great attention, and I'm curious how this has been for you. Anything takeaways?
Yeah, so I can squeal much higher than I can play. And so I think I just need to find that convergence.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, yeah. Oh, good. Oh, thank you. Um, thank you, booking. I saw Calendly come in. Yeah, the convergence is part of the process, but you want to be mindful that there's a lot of other training optimally that goes into it. The rollout in particular, when I give you the practice along, um, that that trains the interior muscles of the lip, so that when you when you ascend on your normal embouchure, those interior muscles activate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think for me too, it's the positive thinking that you started with, because I'm a community band player and church band player, but
Mm-hmm.
I had braces put on and taken off when I was young, and so it's always made me feel insecure about my embouchure.
Yep, totally. Yeah, the mindset piece ended up being actually surprisingly huge for the boot camp folks, and translated across the map. So um, one of the members is a quite good pro player, young, and he was taking an audition for Dallas Symphony, and said that due to the affirmation and mindset work, he stopped having to practice first notes of auditions, of all the excerpts. Which, oh my God, to be able to, you know, figure that out is valuable. Um, yeah, thanks. Simone asked, how much how much do you charge for one-on-ones in the boot camp? I'll talk about that a little bit. I'm still finalizing pricing for the boot camp. The one-on-ones are completely free. So that link that I put in the Calendly is 45 minutes, and that's why I've got them limited to the first 10 or so, 10, 15 people. And then I'll cut it off. But yeah, so that answers that. I'm still figuring things out. Sandy.
Hey, because I'm in Australia, the time difference is a bit weird,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely would love to book in, but I don't know how to figure out the time difference and my roster
Yeah, right, because my
straight.
available
Like,
times might not fit for Australia, huh?
well, because it's what 5 now in the morning,
Wow.
which doesn't phase me in the slightest. I'm always up early. I also need to figure out how to work Zoom because I've never used it before.
Wow, great job. Thanks for all of that. I sent you a DM with my email, and in fact, I'll just give all of you. There's no reason to hide my email address from you. Um, just drop my email in there. If you just want to reach out with any questions, you can do it by email. Sandy, we can find a time that's not on my typical Calendly to
Thank
chat
you.
if you just email me.
Will do. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. And the rest of you as well, if for whatever reason the Calendly is not going and I still have space, I'm happy to schedule a call. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Integrations? All right. Well, then I'm just gonna take a moment and thank you all for coming. I will, let's see. What's the best way? Did you all found this through the Facebook event? If someone didn't have the Facebook event, I will put the practice along. Here's your links just right here. This is the holistic practice masterclass, and then you're gonna want this practice along from week 1. It is good stuff. So week 1 practice along. So I'll those links are in the chat. I can email, Facebook message me if for whatever reason you don't get them and you want them. And if you have any questions, want to reach out, talk one-on-one, I'm here for you. This is what I'm most fired up right now, and I'm so stoked to get the next High Range Magic Bootcamp going and just expand the high range of the collective horn world.
Thanks for doing this, Mars. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You don't see the practice along. Oh, those were direct messages that I put. Okay. That's the practice along. And there's the practice masterclass. All right, so you can click on those links right now or copy them. And yeah, I'm gonna pop off in a minute. You're all released, but I'll just lead a quick guided meditation. If you desire to get in contact with your breath, feel your feet on the ground for a second. Think about all the information that we covered, all of the possibility that's here for you. And I want to invite you to consider an action that you can take that will honor your time here, that you spent more than an hour paying attention. There's information here, opportunities that can help you transform. So commit to yourself a single action, whether it's to try the practice along once,